If you are or have ever gone through such high levels of anxiety that you've become terrified of anxiety itself, then this video is for you, because in this one, we're going to be dispelling those fears and putting you back in control. So welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time, I'm Tim Box, I'm a mind coach, and for the last 12 years or so, I've been working with people to help them overcome all sorts of emotional and psychological issues, and in particular, helping them get control of anxiety. And the main issue we're usually dealing with is what we might call the second fear, or the fear of feeling anxious. I had a client come to see me recently who said to me, Tim, I've watched all your videos and I'm happy now that feeling anxious doesn't mean I'm ill or that there's anything inherently wrong with me, but I still can't seem to stop fearing anxiety simply because it feels so bad. And this is where many of us are. But it's worth pointing out that it isn't really the uncomfortable feelings we're afraid of. After all, we might say we're afraid of the racing heart, the muscles tensing and the shortness of breath, but we deliberately induce this state when we go to the gym or when we're doing anything that might potentially get us excited, like, having sex. It's more the context of these feelings that bothers us. It's the idea that they are inappropriate and thus the fact we're having them must mean something is going wrong with us. In this video, let's break down the main fears we encounter when we're highly anxious and dispel the myths that drive those fears. So, in no particular order. Whenever we experience anxiety to the point that it becomes panic, we inevitably have those moments of extreme fear that there is something life-threatening going wrong with us, physically or medically. This is in fact why panic attacks might continue and repeat, because a part of our mind has filed the experience as dangerous and is now hitting the alarm bell whenever we feel any of the associated physical sensations on even a mild level. But it's important to know that nobody has ever died from a panic attack or from feeling anxious. It doesn't happen. It just feels like it might. You see, our mind's motivation at the time is to protect us. It's just unfortunate that our brains haven't really evolved beyond the point they were at when we were sitting around in caves fighting for every scrap of food. In those days, fight or flight was a valued physical response. These days, it's not really needed quite so much. But our brain might still trigger that fight or flight response if it perceives some type of threat. It might not seem particularly appropriate, but it won't kill you, and it doesn't mean you're damaged. It just means a part of you has perceived threat when there isn't any. The good news is that's a mistake, not a malfunction. It means we're alive, not that we're broken. One of the main fears that drives high anxiety is the idea that the strange thoughts that come with feeling anxious means we are ultimately going, or might have already gone, mad. This isn't the case. When we notice thoughts that make us question our state of mind, this is in fact just our mind engaging in a fight or flight response by doing what it's required to do in that instance, and that is to scan for threat. If the thing we feel threatened by includes our own thoughts, then our mind will start to focus our attention on these stranger, more negative or hard to explain thoughts and question whether or not they should even be there. Again, this isn't a malfunction. After all, our subconscious mind is constantly creating and rejecting many ridiculous notions and ideas just so we steer away from the bad and towards the good, and to distinguish between right and wrong. This all usually happens outside of our conscious awareness. The only difference when we're experiencing high anxiety is that these thoughts are now coming forward into our conscious awareness. That's because a part of us feels the need to examine and question those thoughts. Is it okay I'm having them? What does it mean that I am? It means your subconscious mind is doing its job. You don't need to focus on that job. You're not going mad. If any of the points I'm making in this video are giving rise to questions, then why not join me every Friday at 6 p.m. UK time when I go live on this channel to answer your anxiety-related questions. And if what I'm saying is resonating, then you can become a member of the channel and get access to more than 100 extra videos, including my Clear Your Head Anxiety Relief Program and the full tutorial of how to use my control system method for change. Just click the join button on the homepage. But let's get back to the list of reasons why we might fear anxiety. One of my colleagues, Howard Cooper, is fond of asking his clients, if you had a magic button that just switched these anxiety feelings off whenever they came, how afraid of the feelings would you actually be? The answer in most cases is, of course, not very afraid at all. The point being made here is that we don't fear the feeling, we fear the feeling continuing and never passing. So it can be important and reassuring to recognize that It always does. We have roughly 40 quadrillion active synaptic connections in our brain, and they are all constantly rewiring themselves as we input information via our five senses. As human beings, we never get to the point where we're just stuck like this. This is why we have ups and downs. This is why when we see old photos of us pop up on social media, we look at them and tend to feel like a very different version of ourselves than we were then. It's surprising how quickly we change as an individual, and in most cases, without even noticing. The good news here is that change is inevitable. You couldn't stay like this forever if you wanted to. So whatever feelings, sensations, or thoughts you're currently experiencing, they will all pass. A common response to the idea that we won't be like this forever is to wonder if we have done so much damage being like this for as long as we have, that for all the changes we can make, we'll never get back to what we recognize as the old us. Even if we won't be like this forever, surely we will never fully recover. I had a client a few years ago who told me in one of our sessions that he felt like he was at such a low point with his anxiety now that he didn't believe he could ever fully pull himself out of the hole he was in. He just couldn't imagine there being a way back. Just 1 week later in the next session, he said he was now feeling pretty much back to his old self. Now, this didn't mean he would necessarily never again feel high levels of anxiety, but it did illustrate to him that even when his mind is telling him that he might never be able to feel right again, he knows that this thought isn't true. And it's moments of learning like this that stop us reaching such a low point, because it was only the fear of being there that caused us to be down there in the first place. In truth, when we get out the other side of any anxiety issues, we very often come out with a great appreciation for the journey we've made and what we learnt along the way. This is because now, not only do we feel in a good place again, but we also have more knowledge, experience, and a little bit more resilience than the slightly more naive and more vulnerable version of us had. It's for all these reasons that as bad as it might feel at times, we don't actually need to fear anxiety. Feeling anxious is a natural emotional response and not an indicator of illness or malfunction. Yes, sometimes those feelings will seem exaggerated beyond the point of being appropriate for the situation or circumstances. But even then, it's just our mind making a healthy human mistake. It doesn't mean we're broken. There's something quite negative that happens when we frame high anxiety as in some way unhealthy. It's something we call the anxiety feedback loop, and it's what's responsible for maybe 90% of our anxiety. Check out the next video to discover what that loop is all about and how we break free of it for good.